successful experience in the Arab world. Secondly, on the public opinion polls that have been conducted since the Oslo agreements. Now, briefly, I'll mention the main points. First of all, a Palestinian state will be a democratic state. But this democracy probably will be a partial democracy, exactly like Israel. There will be many internal contradictions within this democracy. The main contradiction will be the lack of separation between state and religion. I think, like Israel, also a future Palestinian state won't separate between state and religion. It won't be dictated by religious laws, but religious groups will always play a major role within such a future state. This is why it would be most difficult to separate between state and religion. But the difference is that in Israel, it's almost impossible that a religious group would control the political system. They will always be very active and very central. In a Palestinian state, it is a possibility. And Hamas, of course, is the example how a religious group with a religious ideology can control the system, because in Islam, the difference between religious and non-religious is less clear than in Judaism. And this is why I think that this is going to be one of the differences. The second issue, a Palestinian state will probably copy the mistakes of an Israeli state. And I think that it's very obvious, even from the Declaration of Independence of Palestine that has been issued in 1988. This, eventually, I knew that this was phrased by Mahmoud Darwish, the most famous Arab poet and Palestinian poet, and he was Israeli, of course, and from his experience, he put the Declaration of Independence of Israel, and almost by word, he repeated the same for a Declaration of Independence of Palestine, but changed the word instead of Israel, Palestine. And I think that if I take the education system today, I can see that the same mistakes are being repeated within the education system among the Palestinians. First of all, the lack of multicultural conception in this system, the lack of emphasis of social issues. The main emphasis is on national identity and the collective identity of the Palestinians. This is exactly the case of Israel, that the education system lacks any multicultural conception. There has been an illusion that social issues can wait until we fulfill our national identity and national aspirations and deal with these aspirations successfully. And I think that it is an illusion. Any state should, from the very beginning, base its orientation on a broader one, including national aspirations, social issues like women's status, for example, the issue of minorities, the issue of the differences between poor and rich. All these issues are so important to any modern state in the world today. And we know that after the resolution of the external conflict, actually the internal conflicts come to the surface and become so strong. The resolution of external conflict just sharpens internal ones. So we have to deal with these issues as well. And I want to conclude by saying that there will be many similarities between Israel and Palestine, but I do believe that probably the two-state solution is not realistic. And if you wish, I can relate to that later on, but I think that two-state solution is passé, and unfortunately, we are looking probably for transitional solutions, interim solutions, and at the end of the day, we will be having just one state for two people, or multinational state, or multicultural state, this way or another. but in this state that two people will learn to live together this way or another and learn not only from the differences but also from the similarities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Majid. And finally, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sabri Saidam, who is a friend of the Atkin Fellowship, who was here last year at our first conference, when at that time we thought things were depressing. Sabri, let me ask you, also as a former minister of the Palestinian Authority, do you think that the recent economic growth, is perhaps a sort of kernel from which something positive could emerge? Positive dynamic.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Well, good morning, everyone. I have had one confession to make. It looks like I have two confessions to make. One is that I was asked to remain positive and be positive. So I prepared a PowerPoint presentation that has 500 slides on positive things and 3 slides on miserable things. The other confession I want to make is that according to the notes you have, I was the Minister of IT, but I've never spoke at any conference that the system never failed. It always fails, either the microphones or the PowerPoint presentation. So I get rid of the microphone. I know that Peter is trying to distract me from my presentation, so I will answer his question last. But I will focus on what I wanted to tell you, is that I honestly and deeply believe that over the last decades of conflict, we and the Israelis have been, and mainly the Israelis, since I am a biased Palestinian, would say that the international community and the Israelis have been managing the conflict. I think it is about time that we move from conflict management to conflict resolution. And conflict resolution means that we have to look holistically at things in a way that we study what's on the ground and try to resolve what we can do in a way that creates some confidence. And before I talk about the positive things, contrary to what my fellow Palestinian panelists have talked about, I would like to show you the realities on the ground. The realities on the ground will help us understand and visualize the magnitude of the problem that exists now.